Okay, now I'm going to do chapter 2 for ACC 240 government nonprofit accounting. Now, I'm doing this at home because we're going to have tomorrow off. I just want you to know if I start breaking out in song, it's because my son is back in his room and he keeps on playing the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know that I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. I know, he keeps playing that over and over again, and I got it in my head. I need to sing it. So you'll have to forgive me. I'm still trying to survive this stupid cold I got 2 weeks ago. So let's go ahead. Let's look at overview of state and local government financial reporting. Okay, we're going to obtain an overview of the contents of a governmental financial report, define the governmental reporting entity, illustrate the basic financial statements for a state or local government. So again, I really, really, really want you guys to remember in your head that government nonprofits, we have a different purpose in our financial statements. It's not to show how much money we're making or anything like that. It's one, we need to make sure that we're going to continue on in business. So we need to make sure that we're viable. We got the going concern thing going on. But our purpose for reporting what do we do with our money is because our persons of interest are going to be our constituents, our taxpayers. They're the ones that are providing the money in order for the government to do business. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take a peek at this. Okay, so I call it I've been raised, I was taught CAFR, Comprehensive Annual Financial Reporting. Okay, they flipped the acronym around. Now it's Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, ACFR. So if you hear me say CAFR, just know that I'm talking about this report here. Okay. You should always have a management discussion and analysis in your annual comprehensive financial review. You need your basic financial statements, your government-wide, your fund bases, and your footnotes. And then you're required to have supplementary information, and that needs to be recorded in there as well. Main differences, less statistical information, combining statements or omitted. So the primary report is called the CAFR, annual comprehensive financial report. Three main sections are the introductory, financial section, and statistical section. A lot of this is going to tell you what's going on in the government that you've got going on. Let's see. Now, I know that I've already went ahead and let's go Yuma County ACFR. Let's see if we can find this real fast. I think I may have grabbed the city of Yuma. That's not the one I wanted. I wanted the county. Okay, there's the city, Yuma County Auditor General. Let's go ahead and just see what this looks like. Okay, that's June 2030. Okay, here we go. This is important. Expenditure limitation report. Here's their report as of previous fiscal year. We're going to go ahead and pull this one down. And then they also have the single audit in there. So you can see here, here's their financial report. So they got your introductory, and then we're going to just have some basic information, letter transmittal, organizational. I've heard that not everybody has these, but every time I've looked at one of these financial reports, I always see one there. So I don't know if that's true. Then, of course, your financial section. So you're going to have your government-wide financial statements, and you're going to have your fund statements, okay? Remember, your fund statements are going to be looking at a cash basis, whereas your government-wide are going to be looking at modified accrual, okay? I just want you guys to remember that. And then here's some required supplementary information. And you can see here's the jail district, library, flood, health services. A HERF fund, I do not know what a HERF fund is, American Rescue Plan Act. I wouldn't mind knowing what that is. Notes to budgetary comparisons. Net pension liability. More net pension, notes to pension schedules. And so you, here's some other supplementary information. And so they should have, here's our statistical section. So you can see how everything is just all spelled out for you. And it is quite a bit, okay? There is going to be so much in here. So here is their letters. So they're telling you what's going on. They're giving you an overview of what's happening with the government. This is the county government. And here's their organizational chart. And you can see that they don't have anybody actually listed in there, the names, but they have the job titles. And we can keep going. There we go. Excellence in financial reporting. And here's their financial section. So, and this is the auditor saying, hey, this is, this looks pretty good. Okay. This is the MDA, Management Discussion and Analysis. Gives you the financial highlights. And you guys can look at this, as you so choose. And then you'll start getting into some of these financial statements. And let's see, what was this right up here? Revenues by sources. They should have something out here because I know they have debt to long-term debt. So here they're talking about their bonds and whatnot. Basic financial statements. Here's your government-wide. Look at their, remember I told you, you got to pay attention to this. So here's your deferred outflows of resources. Then over here, deferred inflows. Net position is your equity. And remember, I told you guys that they kind of break this down. This is a statement of activities. And when you look at this, notice it's not saying office supplies and this and this and this. It's basically telling you the departments. This is the function, the programs, general government, public safety, which is firefighters, your ambulances, your police, highways and streets, sanitation, health, welfare, culture and recreation, education, interest on long-term debt. So what they're going to do here is they're going to tell you what the total department function cost, but they're not going to break it down into GL accounts. That's not their purpose. That's not what's happening here. What we want to see here is we want to see exactly how much is it going to cost us to run this program. So here's all the expenses. Here's what we charge for services, other grants, and some capital grants and contributions. And so you can see here, we're in the negative. Well, how do we make it so that we're not in the negative? Well, it's because of all of this. So here's all these property taxes that happen. You got jail district, health services, capital projects. Notice there's nothing in here in reference to the college because it just flows straight through. The property taxes just flow straight over to the college. So that's a wonderful example right there as to how we're paying for all the services the government provides. Okay, this is governmental funds. Here's the jail district, library, flood control. Might be some more after that. You can see all the way over here, our total government funds. Now looking at this, let me take a peek at this. Notice there's no long-term assets in here, okay? I want you to kind of pay attention to that. There's no long-term assets. This is because this is only reporting what happened within the year. Liabilities, you're not seeing huge liabilities in here as well. You do see the due to other funds, but that's another thing altogether. And then here's their equity rate here. So I want you guys to pay attention to that. So it kind of gives you an overview of everything that's happened. And then it goes down. This is a reconciliation. So you saw this financial statement here, okay, needs to reconcile with some of these minor fund financial statements. And so you do that. So what you're doing is you're reconciling from modified accrual to cash basis, okay? And that's what you're doing right here, is you're taking into consideration the cash basis and the modified accrual, making adjusting entries so that they reconcile. That's what's happening right there. Okay. And again, here's another one, net change in fund balances. And you got to come down here, change in net position of government activities. Okay, so that's what's happening there. That's what these financial statements do. Okay, and so you can see, oh, summary of significant accounting. Okay, this is just notes. This is not bad things. So I'm going to come over here just because I'm nosy. This is last year's fiscal audit. It ended June 30th, so they should actually have one. They should be working on one right now for their 2025. Okay, so this is Fester and Chapman. Whenever I hear the term Fester, I think of Uncle Fester. You all were doing it too. Let me see. Oh, good Lord, this one hurts. This here, these are catalog numbers. They're federal award numbers. And so here's like school lunches, there's WIC in here, community development, block grant. So all of these have specific numbers. And so in an audit, we have to list the numbers, the catalog numbers, the type of grant it was, and how much money we got. So that's what that is. Okay. I want to see, okay. I want to see if they have any findings. IT. So here's their first finding. This is audit. IT, this one is a hard one. It's a hard one to win. Because it seems like every time you turn around, there's something going on with IT. You just can't, they're just can't keep up with it. So here's another IT finding. And it will tell you why there's a finding. So recommendation, what the county should do. They only have 2 findings. That's not bad. And both of them are IT, not accounting. So that's not bad at all. Okay, so just because I'm nosy, I needed to look. Okay. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys. So you saw that. Okay. Introductory section includes the title page, table of contents, letter of transmittal, some other miscellaneous. You guys saw the chart of the organizational chart, and you also saw the letter for good financial reporting. Statistical is not audited. Information is often not financial in nature. It's more what's happening in the community. Presents 10 years of information. The MDA, it's paragraph format, auditor's report when audited. It's your financial statements and notes. You're going to find all of your significant accounting policies and procedures. Anything that requires additional footnotes, your fixed assets, your bonds, your notes payable, your accounts receivable, you're going to find in here in the financial, you're going to find notes for that. Your pension plans, you're going to find lots and lots of notes for that. Okay. Again, more statistics. This is okay. Indicates 5 categories of information: your financial trends, your revenue capacity, debt capacity, demographic and economic and operating. So what's going to happen with the revenue capacity and the debt capacity? The debt capacity, there has got to be a financial threshold, and it needs to be identified, and it needs to be identified as if there's any room. Let's say that my debt capacity is 90% of my revenue. I don't know, I'm making something up. We need to make sure we don't go past that 90% of revenue, whatever that dollar amount may go. Okay. Okay, primary government is financially accountable for another entity. The component unit must be included as part of the government's report. I believe the Civic Center is a component unit to the city of Yuma, okay? Okay. The primary government controls a voting major of the other's organizational governing body. The other organization is fiscally dependent upon the primary government. Second, the related organization must represent a financial benefit or burden to the primary government. So you guys can read those. Here is an example. The school board operates the public education system in the city for grades kindergarten through 12. The city appoints a majority of the board members, approves the budgetary request of the school board, and provides a significant amount of funding. Here we go. Here's the parish fire district. This is in Baton Rouge. Again, the city appoints the board members. The council has the right to approve the fire protection district's tax rate and charges. Assume the city library authority meets the requirements for the inclusion as a component unit. How should the library information be shown in the overall ACC240? And most of the times it's going to appear in a separate column. They call it a discrete presentation. Some cases it's going to be blended, but more often than not, it's going to be discrete. And the approaches used in the library has very strict oversight from the city with no genuine separate financial existence. So actually our city, ours is a county library. Okay, so here we go. Here is some of the information. Management's discussion analysis, basic financial statements. We do our government-wide, and then we do our fund basis, and then we do our notes, and we also provide our MDA. Okay, so here, government-wide, statement of net position, statement of activities. And then we have some worksheet entries. Change in the accrual basis from modified to, from cash to, from accrual basis to modified. Okay, you can see this right here, 2 levels of reporting. Okay, government-wide financial statements. I'm hearing. Oh, we have a beautiful red-headed husky 3-month-old puppy. And now she's come in here and she wants to learn about accounting. So she's coming in here to snuggle with me. So she's so darn cute. Okay, statement of net position measures assets and liabilities. Sounds like a balance sheet to me. Statement of activities is kind of like your income statement. Okay, may show prior year data in comparison to current year results. Unlike commercial reports, no statement of cash flow is required because we really don't need to do that. It's not a business. Government-wide statements do not include fiduciary fund resources or activities as those resources belong to others. Government-wide statement in that position. Assets listed in order of liquidity. Classifying assets and liabilities into current, not current, and non-current categories is optional. Net position is reported in 3 categories: net investment in capital assets, restricted, and unrestricted. Restricted means that we cannot, that it has a very specific purpose, okay? Very, very specific purpose. Okay, so let me come back over here. Okay, restricted. So I'm trying to come up with a good example. This one's going to be a little difficult, but it'll give you a good example of what's restricted. I could deposit, let's say that I win the lottery next week. I don't know if anybody won the lottery last night, but I guess it was up pretty high. So let's pretend I win the lottery. And let's say that I take a portion of my savings or my winnings, and I decide I'm going to deposit it with the Arizona Western College Foundation because I want to build up a scholarship for accounting students. Okay, so we'll pretend that. So I could theoretically make a deposit, let's say $100,000. I think right now to be endowed, you have to be 10,000, but let's say $100,000 just to make it nice and pretty. I can make an endowment and I can state this money here needs to be invested, and any revenue earned off that investment can be used to provide scholarships to students who meet these criteria. Okay, so what I've done now is I've created a permanently restricted funding source, okay? That endowment that I originally deposited, it's restricted. You can't touch that for any purpose other than what I designated for, and it's to sit there and it's to earn revenue to generate those scholarships. Okay. With that said, the money that is generated, the revenue from that investment is what we call temporarily restricted. It needs to stay there until what has she got? She's got my flip-flops. She's eating my flip-flops. So it needs to stay there. So any revenue that I earn because of interest or increase of that investment opportunity, that money can be used in order to provide a scholarship. It's temporarily restricted. We can't pay out any scholarships until we find people who are qualified for those scholarships. That's temporarily restricted. Now, if I had some money in that I just deposited, and I said, do whatever you want to with it, that would be considered unrestricted. There's no limitations as to how to use the money. Okay, I hope that helped. Primary government result must show a separate column for governmental activities and for business activities. So you got your government, your typically the public safety, your parks and rec, so on and so forth. But then you have some places where you'll have business activities, like your civic center. Your parks and recs do show some business type activities because there's charges for being part of the programs. Your water and sewer may have some charges. Okay. If the government has multiple component units, you can have 2 or more columns to show their component information separate from primary government, or you can also combine them. The government-wide statement of activities statement shows the net cost of activities after deducting the revenues that can be directly attributed to each function. Remember how I showed you that one page where it said, okay, these are all the revenues we got. This is how much it cost us. This is how much revenue. Oh, wait, but look, we still haven't made enough money. So then we have to go down to the property taxes and those other different types of taxes that need to be collected and apply those. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Okay, your fund basis statements, your government funds have balance sheet, statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Required supplementary budget comparison. Proprietary funds have statement of net position, statement of revenues, statement of cash flows. Fiduciary is statement of net position and statement of changes in net fund position. They don't have cash flow because those fiduciary, you do not own those. Okay. Major fund concepts must show column for general funds, separate column for other major funds. Fund has 10% of the total assets, liabilities, revenues, or expenditures in government category, and 5% of the total assets, liabilities, revenues, or expenditures, government plus enterprise amounts. Remaining funds are added together into one column. Use the total column. So here we go. Revenues minus expenditures plus and or minus other financing sources or uses, and special items equals change in fund balance plus beginning balance equals our ending balance. That didn't really help a whole lot, did it? Okay, wish they would have had an example there. Maybe they will in just a second. Expenditures are classified by character, current by function, debt service, capital outlay. Character relates to time or interperiod equity issues. Current outlays, past spending, paying off debts of previous generations or buildings that will benefit the future. Got to be careful with that too. You're not supposed to spend current year's money on future year. And you're not supposed to spend current year on previous years because you didn't balance your budget. This schedule reconciles changes in reconciliation in net positions shown on the governmental column of the government-wide statements and the fund level statements of the governmental funds. I just showed you that. Reconciliation is necessary because one is using a modified accrual and the other one is using a cash basis. And that's just all there's. This one says government-wide are on the accrual basis and government fund statements are on the modified accrual basis. Later chapters will give you more background on understanding modified accrual basis. So here we go, proprietary. Show all major enterprise funds in separate columns if they have 10 and 5%. Show additional column for any non-major enterprise funds. Show total enterprise funds. Show a separate column with the totals for all internal service funds. Internal service funds are like your motor pools, your print shops. They're an action that is done within the government, okay? It's like a little department, and they're there to serve the needs of the government. Classify assets and liabilities as non-current and current. Net position is displayed in 3 categories. Capital assets, net of related debt, restricted and unrestricted. Don't need reconciliation to government. Why? Since both are on the accrual basis. Now, the fund basis format is similar to commercial income statements. Non-operating items include interest expense or revenue and gains on losses of sales of assets. Here we go. 4 categories instead of the 3 used in business cash statements. Operating, non-capital operations, related financing, and capital, fixed assets. And then, of course, we have our investing. Okay, and so you can kind of see here's the comparison of the two. Okay, for fiduciary, it's assets minus liabilities equals fiduciary net position. Okay, so just a tad bit different than our normal accounting equation. Our assets are reported at fair value. Statement and changes explains the changes in fund resources. Measured using economic resource measurement focus and accrual basis. Excess of additions over deductions is not called net income. Change in fiduciary net position. Format, additions minus deductions equals change.